been made aware. They are aware of what has happened. Representative Steve Scalise has been shot at baseball practice multiple times. The shooter apparently fired at least 50 shots. Now, we want to bring in Georgia Senator David Perdue right now. Senator, thank you for talking to us this morning. Do you have any new information about Steve Scalise?
No, we're talking to the Georgia delegation right now. Some of our delegation may have been at that practice, but on a personal level, Maria, Steve's a friend of mine. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family this morning, his wife and his children. I'm horrified. This is a shock to all of us here this morning. But it just, I think, accentuates, we've got to find a balance between being available and accessible to our constituents and the public, and yet providing security for our leaders. I mean, Steve was the number 3 guy in our Republican caucus in the House. I mean, this is serious.
There are people in Congress who are telling me they think he will be okay. I just want to get that out because we're all worried about what the severity is here. But this is 50 rounds that the shooter fired, and it hit Representative Scalise in the hip. Senator Perdue, when was the last time you saw Steve Scalise?
Oh, I saw him 2 days ago. You know, we interact a lot. We have a lot of things in common. We have to work together. He's the whip over there, so he has to really know everybody. Everybody loves Steve. Steve works both sides of the hill, and he's a leader. But, you know, he had a detail, and I am so proud of the Capitol Police here. I feel secure in this building. This is in the Russell office building, and, you know, we feel secure here, but it just shows we have to be vigilant about these outliers out there. But our hearts, I mean, our thoughts and prayers really go out to Steve's family right now.
Yeah, we just want to say that he was shot in the hip, and there were 50 rounds, but he is expected to survive. This is what we're hearing from a number of people this morning. Both POTUS and the Vice President are aware of this developing situation, which happened in Virginia. Our thoughts and prayers are with all affected. From the press secretary, we want to say that as well. And Senator, Steve Scalise has been knee-deep in terms of health care and in terms of tax reform planning.
Well, he's an integral part. He was in a White House meeting with me a couple of months ago on health care, and the president looks to Steve as the guy who knows if we have the votes or not. I mean, he's vital to forward progress here.
So this is what we can. This is coming to us from Chad Pergram from the Fox News Channel, a producer down there on the ground. Senior sources are saying that Steve Scalise was shot in the hip. He's expected to survive. The shooting started around 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time. A gunman with a rifle on the scene at this GOP practice for the congressional baseball game, which is on Thursday. The shooting went on for 10 minutes.
And Daily Mail, the Daily Mail is reporting.
Just real quick, Scalise has a security detail since he's been in leadership, and the suspect was shot
and apprehended.
USCP and apprehended and was taken to the hospital. This is from Fox News' Chad Pergram.
Yeah, the suspect has been shot and apprehended. So now they have the suspect. And apparently from the Daily Mail, Republican Representative Mo Brooks of Alabama is said to have used his belt as a tourniquet to slow the bleeding from Scalise's leg. Obviously, he's bleeding after 50 shots were fired. Senator Perdue, what are you waiting for in terms of new information? Where will you get it?
Well, we have contacts that were at that practice. I want to know who else was hit. That's our number one concern right now. Thankfully, we're relieved about the early news about Steve. Our prayers are that nobody else is seriously injured over there.
This was no accident. This was on purpose. There was a rifle shooter which fired 50-plus shots. This is from Mo Brooks. Shooter attack at GOP practice, rifle, 50-plus shots fired, 5 or more hit, including GOP whip Steve Scalise. I am not shot, says Representative Brooks, who just tweeted this out. Newt Gingrich, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, people need to take a deep breath. And let's wait and see what we learn about this. I think there's a tendency to rush through a whole series of things and then go back and start correcting. I think all of us should remember what Mo just put out. In addition to keeping Steve in your prayers and his family, there are 4 other people, probably congressional aides, who also have been shot. And so we should be concerned for all of them.
Absolutely.
And then I think once they're stabilized and once they're going to recover, then I think we should explore what happened with the particular shooter. I'm curious, first of all, how they found out where the practice was. I don't think this was posted publicly, so I'd like to know. Somebody doesn't just wake up in the morning randomly and go down the street till they find somebody to shoot at. But I think, again, you take a deep breath, understand that the first instinct after this is to rush to judgment. We need more information. We need a little bit of time here. And I just want to push back again. In a free society, if you're going to have representative government, everybody below the president and the vice president is going to be at some risk. Because otherwise you can't reach them. I mean, you start sealing people off, they become an aristocracy of security. So, yes, it's a little frightening. Yes, it's a little dangerous. But I think it's also the price of a free society. And I would hope that we wouldn't rush to tighten things up even more, which is one of our unfortunate habits after each of these incidents.
Yeah, well, we know that that 50 shots were fired. We know that this was not an accident, that there was a shooter with the rifle who was then shot and apprehended. And we know that Congressman Scalise was shot in the hip. Dagan, you have any new information?
And this is all...
As well as his aides. There were
right.
aides.
That
we don't know how many aides.
So this shooting was started at 7:15 a.m. The fact that it went on for 10 minutes and the suspect was eventually shot by the U.S. CPU's Capitol Police, right, and apprehended because Steve Scalise has had security details since he moved into the leadership job there. But again, a gun with a rifle shows up at this practice baseball, this GOP baseball practice for the congressional baseball game. But you know, there are a lot of reports coming in. I believe that Mo Brooks tweet, that wasn't from his Twitter account. That was somebody who it seems to have spoken to Mo Brooks, Congressman Mo Brooks. That's the way that was getting out there. But so clearly other lawmakers were on the scene and other aides, but we're waiting to find out how many people were injured and their condition as well.
And let me just point out, the Capitol Police do a very, very good job. They take real risks. We've had Capitol Police killed. In fact, 2 were killed while I was Speaker. But they normally carry pistols, so depending on what the range was, it may have taken them a little while to have maneuvered to a point to get this guy. Because with a rifle he could simply outrange them, and so I think until we see exactly what happened, know exactly what the sequence is, we can't rush to judgment. I'll just say my final contribution to this, and I can't say it too strongly. Steve is a very sincere, a very devoted person. I am confident that he and his family and the families of all the staff members who may have been shot will be very grateful to anybody who's watching us today who includes them in their prayers. And I think that will be very important to them. And I hope people who are watching will take seriously reaching out in your hearts to these folks who are in danger today and who were, in effect, innocent witnesses to something that they had no notion was going to happen.
I agree. Steve Scalise is an incredible human being, really a quality, hardworking representative of the people. We're looking now at a shot of the baseball practice scene from Google Maps. This is basically the area where we saw the shooting happen. And again, this was a shooter who fired 50 shots at the baseball practice, hitting Congressman Steve Scalise in the hip and hitting his aides as well. One aide apparently was hit in the chest. There's Tom Cotton. Is he on right now live? This is a live feed from a local station where you're looking at, that's Tom Cotton. Mm-hmm. And that's the baseball field where the shots happened. We're with Georgia Senator David Perdue as well. And Senator, do you know what Steve Scalise had been working on?
Well, he's been working on health care right now, but also on the tax package that we've been talking about here for weeks. But Steve is a leader over there. He's one reason why they passed this last health care bill out of the House and gave it to us in the Senate. So Steve is a very powerful, very important leader in our caucus in the House.
We obviously can't show these photos, but there are photos coming from the scene of how Scalise was shot, and you can see where as Chad Program was reporting, he was shot in the hip, but you can see where he was injured. And again, he's expected to recover and be okay. We should point that out. But it was there are multiple reports about who was shot. But again, the suspect was shot by Capitol Hill Police, with Steve Scalise having that security detail with him. But the shooting went on for some 10 minutes, according to reporting from our Chad Program down there.
Yeah.
But the gunman was shot and is in custody has been apprehended.
Yeah, I mean, police tweeted that they believe the gunman was in custody earlier. Senator Mike Lee had said the gunman was dead. We don't know what's happening with the gunman right now. But we know that there were 50 shots fired and that Steve Scalise was hit in the hip and his aides were hit, one aide hit in the chest. I want to thank you, Senator David Perdue, for joining us. I want to thank you, Speaker Newt Gingrich, as well, for weighing in here on this developing story, which just